How you doing, everybody? Welcome to the John Drop, and this is the second episode that we're going to be doing again with sales and mindset, and that's what we're going to really be focusing on. And so, I want to welcome everybody back. And so, this one is kind of direct moves, discipline, mindset, and really, how do you build that foundation that closers have? Right? That's what eventually what you want to be known as. If you're in sales, you want to be the closer, right? And there, either you run a team from there, or you continue to do you just keep closing business and crushing it. So welcome back, and this is definitely going to start to become the culture will be started, and this is going to be a place you come for mastering not only the money game, but you'll have market insight. So when you're talking with anybody about sales, you'll know where the money's flowing. That's a great thing to know when you're in a conversation with somebody, right? You just want to know where the money's flowing. You don't have to be a stockbroker to know about the stock market. You don't have to study up on it or be Series 7's license. You don't need that. You just need to have some type of insight so you can speak intelligently about where interest rates are, what's happening in the different markets, because that's going to affect, everybody you speak to is going to be in one part of those things, right? And that's going to be affecting one part of their life. So it's good to have a knowledge of it. And so this will be a great place where weekly you'll be getting a snapshot of it. And then the last Wednesday of every month is when we'll be doing the Crypto Corner show with Jason and I. But every week, I'm going to be doing this weekly because I think it's mindset, especially in these times. And if you can gain some perspective on how to do sales, get the fundamentals down. And you don't have to be a salesman. You can be a doctor. If you are a good salesman as a doctor, you will beat out the competition, right? A lot of doctors are having it harder and harder, right? With all the student loans, and depending on what your practice is and what you're doing, sometimes you need to do a couple of different disciplines to continue to really flourish. And so the better you are at connecting with people and not keeping it sterile. If you have a lawyer, when they're in court and they're trying to sway a jury, those are some of the best salesmen you'll see, right? Actors, salesmen, right? Because they're making believe they're somebody else, and they have a script. They learn the script, they internalize it, and make you believe it. So those are all things that you can actually pull from. And so no matter what your industry, but specifically if you are in sales, you have to start to get these fundamentals down and really build the right way. Don't, sometimes we listen to, and I do the same thing. I'm always trying to get better. So I listen to some different people, and through my career, I've always listened to different sales guys and mindset guys and stuff. And so, hey, how you doing, Jake? And so, what I learned is that everybody is going to have a piece, but what I realized what's missing is those guys, they've hit a level, and most of them, not all, most of them hit that level by doing things like selling their program, right? Not really in, kind of boots on the ground. You're in a cubicle with 100 other guys and girls, and everyone's calling, making 500 phone calls a day, and every first of the month you're starting from zero, right? And if you didn't build your pipeline, the stress starts to hit, and you're not leaving. You're putting in 14-hour days. You're doing whatever 6 days a week. You're trying to do whatever you can to get your month going in a positive way. And every hour that passes feels like a day, and every day feels like a week. And after a week and a half, you feel like the month is over, and you can feel the stress mounting. So most guys don't know what that is. And I tell you, that's my whole career in different types of industries. I've sat in it. I've been there. I've had the months where I didn't know what I was going to do, and when I had a great mindset, what happened at the end of the month, and when I didn't. And so I'm going to share some of that with you today, because I believe that we are always, the companies that you're going to work for are, not to judge the company. I don't know if they look out for your best interest as far as your mindset, right? The health of your mindset. I believe that, and I know this through experience and what they do when I'm there. They want you to be the best. Let's say you're selling credit cards, the best credit card salesman, right? And sell as much as their credit card as possible. There's no other skill being taught, right? They'll show you what the features of the card are, how it can benefit maybe that this and this specific customer, and that's what they teach you. But the problem is that when that's all you're being taught, that's all you're being taught. So you're not really building you. And so I always believed in the first thing I did when I was at Bank of America, and they told me what was missing. The first thing I said is, there's no training on how to build us to be the best, like say John I can be, right? The best Anthony he can be, and Nancy she can be. You're teaching them to be the best credit card salesman, or the best opening checking account salesman, or whatever it may be, right? So you have to, even having my website, not making phone calls, I can benefit from this. Yeah, it's very true, my darling. Thank you. And yeah, and it's true. Yeah, it's whether it's phone calls or not. When you're speaking about, whatever you have out there, and the big thing is, do you believe what you have? And when you're speaking about it, how are you connecting with people? You have to connect. And so I heard it recently, and so we're going to be getting into that as well, on quite a few different things. And I'm the reason why I want to put it out early is I want whoever starts to listen to this, I want it to marinate a little bit. I need you to think about it. I need you to keep an open mind and just listen to what I'm saying. And you can judge whether you like how I do it or I don't. And we'll part as friends, or we'll continue and you'll become a closer and very well rounded. So no matter what happens in your life, no matter how hard you get knocked on your ass, you will be able to go in most any industry and be able to sell whatever product, because I will concentrate on making you the best you can be with a mindset that is like a steel trap. People think you're almost like insane. Like, how isn't he giving up? I don't know how he keeps getting up and going again. I don't know how that he keeps doing this, but he keeps going. He keeps going. That's what you want. And so that's what I do. So what we'll do is this: is 2 weeks ago, we talked about a few things. We talked about when you see the smoke, you run into the fire, right? That means that when you feel uncomfortable about something, whether you're just starting in sales or you've been in sales, but you still, for whatever reason, you're moving to a place in where you're starting to plateau, and you're getting that uncomfortability because now they're expecting more from you. And that's all that is because you're doing better, it's a different energy. And if your energy is not matching it, that's going to be that uneasy, uncomfortable feeling, right? That's the smoke. So what you need to do is level up that mindset and then head to it so you can start to align with that frequency, right? And once that happens, then you can start to move through it. And now you're aligned, and now you're at the skill level where you need to be, or you're on your way where you're going to bust through and have that breakthrough, right? So you always have heartbreak before you have the breakthrough. But who, after last week's conversation, who went through an uncomfortable situation and decided, frig it, you know what? This is what we're going to do. We're going to go through this uncomfortable. I want it. Give it to me. Bring it on. Bring it on now. I'm going to go through this fucker. And when I come out the other side, I want to see the success I have. See if John was right, what he said. And I hope some people did it, and I hope I can see some success stories. But even if you failed, I would love to hear if you got dumped on, or if you kind of moved through it, or you tried and you went to you went for it, right? But what happened was you still got rejected. You got hung up on. They slammed the door in your face. Whatever type of sale you do, because we definitely here we don't hide from that. That is a massive learning experience, and I would rather that to hear that you failed, and you really shouldn't be calling it a failure, because what that is that is a learning experience. And the bigger the challenge you ran into, the worse it made you feel, the better and the more learning we will take from that. And I will help you turn that into a massive reward when we're done. So let's hear it. We're not going to hide from it. We're going to learn from it, and we're going to move forward, because nothing sets us back, right? That's a learning experience or a success. And I want the guy or woman who has the balls to go through it and fail, rather than the person who don't have it in them to even try. Okay. So I would like to know who did that. Second, if you have a sales team, or you have some new people, and they're young, and so they're nervous to fail, or they're nervous to hear no, and so they don't ask them, they're not really asking, they're kind of reluctant. Did you do the go for the no? Did they, did a yes come from that? Did you see, if you're doing it the right way, and you're giving them recognition? How you doing, Annette? And you're giving them recognition every time they get a no. What you're doing is, because the fear of failure, that's all encompassing, right? So if you get a rebuttal, if you get an objection, you look at that when you're new, you look at that as sometimes personal, but you look at that as that's part of the failure zone. I asked them for the business, they didn't say yes. So if they don't say yes, that's not a success, right? And so if they say no, well, I got to ask my wife, or I got to think about it, or I'm out liquid right now, whatever it may be. Instead of taking that the way you should be taking it, you take that as failure. And so again, what we talk about, go for the no. And so when someone does say no to these newer sales men and women on your team, are you giving them the proper recognition at the end of the day? They had to go for 20 no's, because again, what I'll tell you is, if they go for 20 no's a day, they are going to be guaranteed at least one, maybe two yeses by the time they finish 20 no's, no matter how bad they are. Just statistically, you're going to get a couple of layups, right? But what that'll do is that'll break them out of their shell. It'll kind of take all the trauma that they get from hearing a no. It'll get taken away, because they're being celebrated for the no's now, right? That's what the success is for them. And at the end, if they can get 20 no's, they get a Starbucks gift card for $5, right? And so in front of the whole branch, right, or in front of your whole team, this is what Cynthia did. This is what and she's getting a great job getting those no's, because you have someone who has the courage to at least join the race, and you can always work with that if you're a good coach, right? If you're a lazy sales manager, then you are what you are, and your team won't flourish. And I wish better for your team, and you, if you wish to get better. But I would love to know if we've had some success with those stories as well. And so the last thing we talked about was asking for the business directly. So I would like to know if anyone, again, asked for the business, or did you find yourself, because you're in the habit of being indirect, right? And saying, hey, these are the three options, Mr. Customer. What do you think? So that would be considered an indirect. That's a weak close, right? Instead of, Mr. Customer, you have option 1 for this, option 2 for this, and option 3 does this. Which one best fits you and will work for you today? Mark an X, draw a line that they can sign, right? And you say, circle the one you want and sign. And you hand them the pen. Or you put the pen on the paper and you push it right in front of them. And then you sit and be quiet. Now you've asked them directly, right? And so if someone has done that, anyone listening who has done that, yes, you are definitely direct, my son. But if anyone has done that and has got the business from it, I would like to hear that too, because uh, indirect salespeople, unless you got a layup and you're an order taker, you're going to have a rough time in the business. So get used to asking for the business. Ask for the business. I had to get used to it. These are all things that I did when I was in my career when I was younger. Sometimes you have a reluctance to it. That's just how it goes. Not not everybody is just like fearless right out of the right from jump. So you got it. But once you do it a couple of times and you see that you're getting the business, you get addicted to it. You can't wait to ask for the business, which that's why you want to stay calm and you want to have what I like to say, relaxed intensity, right? Relaxed, but inside the intensity is like a lion, right? You just want to rip it apart, but relaxed intensity, right? It's almost like James Bond, right? Relaxed, but he can kill you at any second, like that. Um, but don't kill anybody. So anyway, we're going to go through some market insights, and then we're going to build on the foundation and we'll go into some of the markets and what it is, and then we'll go into sharpening some sales structure, fine tuning your mindset, and really to see where your mind's. You're going to have to gauge where your mindset's at. Let's see, speak about how. Speak about how this looks from doing it for yourself, your LLC, please. Okay. Uh, in clarify. What do you want me to clarify that, Lisa? What do you want me to say? What do you want me to talk about? Um, so all right. So I'll wait till I see your comment go up. All right. So we're going to build on that foundation there. Let's see. So here we go. The market. So if we look with the market, so what we have is you have Bitcoin, right? Stabilizing, it's staying near its resistance level. That's the resistance is the top side of it. Not a team of business owners with no employees. Okay. Um, okay, I got that. And this is so perfect timing. Relaxed intensity is so not me, but it's something that will help me get my LifeWave business off to. Hey, congratulations! I didn't know you got it. What LifeWave? What is that about? But so, and I'll get there, babe. I'm just going to go through the snapshot. And so we have, so that's by its resistance level, which means by where its top side is, right? So it hits resistance and then comes down, and then it comes down to where the support level is, and that's kind of the trading range. So that's where Bitcoin is. And it's kind of stalling out a little bit. Then you have XRP, XLM. They're holding their positions where they're at. So they're holding strong while the Ripple platform is continuing to expand through Asia and Latin America. And it's quietly setting up their infrastructure for cross-border, sending money cross-border. And they're looking to be very dominant in that. And what I like is when you're a true player, you build in silence. You're not screaming it to the world, and you just continue to build. And when the time comes, you dominate market share, right? Because you've been building, and it's just everything is going around, all the noise that's happening, but you're building and you're building and you're building. And Ripple's been doing a great job at that. So it looks like XRP, XLM, and the family that we look at through Ripple is going to be doing really well because they're expanding through the right countries. So we're seeing that stocks, the stocks earnings rotations are happening. So you have big tech. Big tech is cooling a little bit. Small caps are creeping up, which is always nice. If they creep up, that means percentage gains are going to look better, right? Because they're cheaper. The Fed's tone is softening, so no more aggressive rate hikes for now. And really, the rates need to probably come down a little bit. That's what they should be doing. But I don't know if it's political with Trump and Powell getting into it. And, because if he lowers rates, the market normally would move up. And so God forbid if they do that when, they don't want, God forbid, because Trump is in that, they want to, instead of doing what's right for the American people, sometimes they want to see how they can make Trump look bad, which is ridiculous to me. I don't know why you wouldn't want everyone to do well. It's patented biomodular patch that works by reflecting back your body's light and stimulates stem cell production, cutting. Oh, wow. That's awesome. In that. Good for you. Oh, we gotta talk offline too, see what that is. See how we can get it promoted. But all right. So the stock market. So that's what we're seeing in the markets, and then you just have the bond market. You have the short-term yields are flat, but long-term bonds are ticking upward, which is good because that means it's kind of getting back into where it should be, where the long-term bond has a higher rate than the short-term bond. I mean, it's just like a common sense thing, but everything was flipped so upside down that the short-term bonds were giving more of a rate, which is kind of scary when you look at it, because that is not how the market's supposed to react. And then it looks like real estate inventory is down a little bit, especially in the hot metro areas. Prices are holding firm. Interest rates are sticky. But what's happening is because interest rates should be coming down, so buyers are going to kind of sit on the fence and wait until until they can see that rates are coming down, so they can get their mortgages at a lower rate. So the one thing I'll tell you is, like they always say, whether you're buying with a car or a house, you date the rate, you marry the payoff, right? So if you have a really good deal where you're getting, you're getting into something at a real cheap price, you want to take that into account because you can always refinance the rate down, right? But if you don't want to pay a high price and have a high rate, so that's when you would kind of sit out for a little bit. So, and again, every deal would be different when it comes to that. So, so that being said, those are the markets, and that's a herd of elephants coming down the stairs. Let's see. All right, and all right. So, all right. So, all right. Let's talk about sales structure. And so, what we'll do is we'll get into sales structure. So if you are the only person in your business, right, and you are the LLC, first know that you're not the only person in your business at all, right? It's maybe you, but you're probably cut in about 7 or 8 different slices, right? Because there's going to be all different types of positions you need to fill, right? Because nothing happens magically. So who's keeping up on the website? Who's keeping up on if you're selling a product, how much product is being sold, the analytics, what works, what doesn't work, where it works. If there is, if you need to get an assistant, who's hiring them, who's doing the banking, the accounting. So you're cutting yourself in a bunch of different pieces. So that's one. And so you really want to take note of that. And again, from personal experience, I ran myself so ragged trying to do that. And I was doing so many different things that sometimes you get caught up and you're not doing the productive part of business. You're doing just the busy part of it, right? So you're keeping yourself busy and you feel like you're busy and you feel like you're an entrepreneur, but what's happening is all your effort is going towards the activity part of it that's not producing your revenue, right? So you want to make sure you understand where your revenue is coming from and what your KPIs are, right? And then you want to start to look and say, okay, so my key performance indicators are this, right? And so with these key performance indicators, I need to speak to 20 people a day because I'll get 5 presentations off and I'll make anywhere from 1 to 2 sales right now, what my skill level is now. When I get better, maybe I'll be able to get 8 presentations off and 4 sales, right? So it just depends. Also, the analytics are very important because in the beginning, you're going to have less people to talk to, less people listening to you, or less people that are going to be part of your group because they don't know you yet, right? You're still going to have to market and you grow. So don't always go off of the bottom line and say, well, I wanted to make 100,000 in 6 months, but I only made 20,000. That's a fail, right? Or I wanted to grow my subscription base by I wanted to be at 5,000 by, people paying me a monthly fee to get my course or whatever it may be. And, I don't, I didn't get 500 people. I got 20 people. And so sometimes that could really be discouraging, right? But that's why you don't want to go off of an end number. It's nice to have that number in mind on what you want to make. That's great. But you don't want to base your business success or failure on it. I'll tell you why. In the beginning, you need to look at analytics and what your percentages are as far as how many customers you're speaking to, how many you're getting unique conversations off with, meaning presentations that you actually have a chance, not someone that said hello, not interested, and hung up, right? That's going to be your total number of contacts. But the quality contacts is what's important, because they're going to let you get off what you need to say, which means that if you don't sell it, it's something that you said that they feel it did not, that feature is not going to benefit them in the way they thought, or you didn't sell it in the right way because you don't have the skill to sell it that way yet, right? But when you look at it, if you only spoke to, say, 20 people total over the first week, and that first week you wanted to do $5,000 in business, but you only spoke to 20 people, right? And your program, let's say, is, I don't know, $100, $100, right? But you spoke to 20 people, you had unique conversations with about 4 of them, right? And you sold 1 or 2, right? So when you look at that, you want to look at how many conversations you had, and with that, how many conversations you had, right? You want to look at that and say, okay, now how many did I sell? So if you're closing at a 25% clip, or you close 2 of them and you're closing at a 50% clip, that is amazing. But most people look at the fact that I only made 200, I made $200. I didn't make the 2,000 that I wanted. I'm a failure. And then you go dark because you get, kind of disenchanted with the whole business and get discouraged. The mindset goes to shit, right? But when you look at it, when you look at when you look at it, how it is, if you beef that up and you're already closing at a 25 to 50% clip, right? Because you only spoke to 4 people. What if we can build you where when you speak to the next 20 people, you're able to get 10 people to listen to you, so you can have a quality conversation and you close 50%. There's right. That's 5. Now you close 5 people, right? 5. Now you're at 500. And you're almost there. And it's only a numbers game, right? It's only as you build that number and get better, you're probably going to hold at a certain close rate, and it'll be a good close rate. But the more people you speak to, that's going to start to show your revenue. So in the beginning, look at analytics. That's where you want to set your goals. Not so much like a dollar figure, because it'll be very hard to hit if you don't have the amount of people to speak to if you're new. So keep that in mind. And so this is part of the answer that Lisa was asking, where if you're an LLC and you're by yourself, so that's what you want to look at. Number 1. Number 2, you want to look at what you're doing. If you're the business owner, if you don't have the skills to connect with people to sell what you have, there is absolutely almost, it's a slim to 0% chance that you will be successful. And I don't mean it to be discouraging, because that's a choice you're making, not to connect with people, because it's a choice that we make if we're going to be shy. I used to have a phobia of speaking in front of everybody. I would never stand up in front of the room. I finally broke it midlife, but I just wouldn't do it. But I made the choice to say I had a phobia of that, or I was shy, right? And so when you go into a new business or a new endeavor, the people, they don't know you like that. So you can be anybody you want. You can be the most out there, external person that you love being. You're a person of the people. You love being with people. You like speaking with people. You love connecting with people. You can choose whoever you want to be. It's all up here where your mindset's at. But if you can't connect with anybody, and you can't be personable, and unless you have some type of life-saving product, right, that's going to save people's lives, that so you can act like a complete, say, asshole to people, and they're still going to buy your product. That's different. That's God bless you, mate. You got yourself a great product. But mostly, people have to connect with you. And if you look at the people who really are successful in spaces like that, in businesses that sell a product, and it's them, if you're going to be the face of your LLC or your company, then you want to make sure that people see who you are. They know where you're coming from. They understand that you understand that all humans are not to be judged for their ups and downs continuously, because you've been through ups and downs, which is why I'm an open book, when it comes to that, because I need people to understand that everything just didn't flow easy to me. This is years and years of building up calluses, of doing it the wrong way, and having the wrong type of emotion towards people saying no, or just giving me an objection, and how I looked at everything. It was so wrong, and I didn't realize to get a coach. I had a football coach, I had a quarterback coach, right? I had a baseball coach, a batting coach when I was a kid. When I went to try to play golf, I got a coach just so I didn't get any bad habits to start out, right? So Michael Jordan had a shooting coach, right? Michael Jordan, Tom Brady had a quarterback coach, right? Best ever. But I never thought of it as, when I was younger, I need a life coach, right? Or a sales coach, right? But because if I needed a sales coach, what that meant was I wasn't good in sales. That means I needed help in sales, and I don't see anyone else getting any help in sales. So they're going to think that I'm not good, because I'm always worried about what everyone thinks, right? So if you're going down that road, you have to kind of let all that ego go. And if you're going to be a single owner, know that you're going to wear a couple of different hats, and you're going to have to generate the revenue that comes in. And I would say to keep your mindset at the best possible place. When you look at your analytics, you're not looking at your end revenue number in the beginning. You're not looking at that. You're looking at the people that get in touch with you, or you're getting in touch with, that you're having a conversation and you have a chance to close. How many people you need to speak to get to how many presentations you get off, and how many presentations do you need to get off to get one sale. And you start to use those analytics. And that's what you want to look at. And if you are 1 for 4 or 2 for 4, right? 1 for 5, you're closing at anywhere between a 20 and a 50% close rate. All you need to do is beef up the amount of people you're speaking to, and your numbers will carry through, and your end number will be there. So look at the analytics. If you get discouraged, you need to put that aside and get yourself in a different state of mind, where you are always in gratitude, because you have to be able to connect with people. You can't be desperate. You can't show you can't show that stuff, because you can see me now. So if I was desperate, you can see it on my face. But if I wasn't, and we were just on the phone, you can feel that desperation over the phone, without a doubt. And I know it. I know it, because there were people I knew I could have closed, but because of the situation I was in, I was pushing so hard. They can right through the phone, they saw the desperation, and there's no way people are going to buy for that. But people buy on feeling, and if they feel that you're desperate, their feeling is not going to be great, right? They're not buying nothing from you, and that's why you'll see that they'll buy from somebody else. And why didn't they buy the same product from me? Not because the other product was better, it was because I wasn't good enough. I didn't know how to control my mindset, right? I didn't understand it at that time, and I find that a lot of people don't, because a lot of sales leaders have no clue what they're doing, except to look at the numbers, tell you where you're falling short and what you need to improve as far as number wise, without giving you a real plan, structure, or role playing how you do it. And again, it's because 90% of them have no clue, because they never sat in your seat. They never sat in your seat to do it and feel what you're feeling. That's why there's no empathy. And that's why they'll just pull out your statistics and your KPIs and tell you what you're doing or not, and why sales is a revolving door. Because if they throw enough shit at the wall, they get 10 salesmen in, 9 will leave, within 2 months, and one will stay and do okay, right? Hire another 10, 9 will quit, and one will stay, and that's how they build their sales team. And that's a huge red flag for me when I see it. If I when I anyone I've ever worked with, any sales team I worked with, the first thing I look at, and it is pervasive throughout the whole industry. So when you're on your own, you'll have nobody to bounce off of, right? It's you, so you have to be the one to connect. And if it's uncomfortable for you to connect with people, that what I would just say, not I mean this with all love, get over it and connect. Too bad. Otherwise, you're in the wrong business, because you have to connect. People have to know that you give a shit. And the problem, the thing I see with that, not the problem, but the heartbreaking thing is, we probably lose a lot of good people because they just were never taught how to connect, or social conditioning. They had to keep their cards close, because once they opened up, they got hurt. And so it overflows into everything. And so when that happens, we probably lose a lot of good entrepreneurial people, because they just can't connect and they can't sustain a business. Because if they're going to be the brand, if they're the only one, then that's the brand. And the brand has no soul behind them, because they're not communicating to you. They're talking kind of at you with kind of no feeling. They're just matter of fact. Yeah, it's just not gonna work. So what I would say is, if you're going to do that, there are different things you can do, especially if you have a good program, that you can get closers hired that, let them close some of your packages. But if you can do it, and you can do it for your own product, especially if it's you doing a course, you're good, get the conviction and passion inside you, and let people see who you are. The worst that they can do is tell you no, and then you know what? You move on and you close the next one. That's it. It never ends. It never ends. So there's nothing to feel bad or good about. It just, you could be grateful that it never ends, so you always have a shot. Let's see. Your journey exemplifies how we can be whoever or whatever we choose to believe. I would have thought you were a skilled salesman your entire life. Thanks for this topic. Yeah, you know what? I was, and Lisa, I tell you, I was crazy with that. And it was through later in my life that I broke out of my phobia when I first met Lisa, because I was in multi-level marketing companies before. I never really spoke in front of a room. I was a good recruiter, because I was good one-on-one with people. Like I was always in sales, so I was always one-on-one. I was really good. But if I had to stand up in front of a room, I wouldn't. I just walk out. I would quit a job. I walked out on many jobs because of that. And who knows the professional damage I took, that I could have been whatever. That's why I think a public speaking is the absolute best skill you can have when going through, because if you can move a room of people, there's no more. That's the value you want to have that. But yeah, I had like a phobia, and we got into a multi-level marketing company, Lisa and I, and because they knew I was in prior, they were like, "Oh, good, John, you can close the room. We're gonna have 40 people at the house." And I was in front of Lisa in the beginning. I didn't tell her I had a phobia like that. So I was like, "Oh yeah," I was dying inside, dying. And we're sitting in the house, and the only people are talking to me, and we're saying hello to everybody. And the only thing I'm thinking is, how can I create a small fire so we have to get out of here? No, I'm kidding. All I was thinking was, I hope I hope something happens where we just have to leave, or something happens where we get a phone call, because I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a fool of myself. And my Lisa was there, my mother-in-law, and my father-in-law was there, and then there was like 40 people, and it was in the house, and they were right up on everybody. And I was going to go next, and I reached over to Lisa, and I went to tell her, right? I was going to tell, like, whisper to her, because I was going to go on next. And she turned around to go like, what? No. And I said, oh, no, nothing. And I realized that for the first time, because of how how I felt for Lisa, because I loved her so much, that it was more painful for me to do what I was going to tell her, which was, I am going to the bathroom, but I'm walking right out the front door, and I'm going to start walking home. Tell him I died, and you don't know what happened. He's MIA, and come pick me up. I'm going to start walking. I can't do this. That's exactly what I was going to tell her, and I came 1 second away from doing it because I opened my mouth to actually whisper in her ear, I got to go to the bathroom, and I'm leaving. Right, but the pain of her being embarrassed by me doing that for me was greater than me getting up in front of that room and confronting a fear I had for the first whatever it was 39 years of my life, right? 40 years of my life. And I had to confront it in a way that was pretty wild. And what I realized is I went up there. I had no idea what I was going to say. My legs felt like jello. I felt this. I felt like it was surreal. I just started talking about the company, but I was talking from my head because I was so nervous, and I was like looking around, and everyone's kind of looking at me and just like sitting back, right? Like, and just sitting back. And then I was and I because I was overweight at that time, and we lost quite a bit of weight with this company, and so I started to talk about we had Gianna. She was a couple of years old at that time, and I couldn't go on a swing because I was too big, right? So the swings would dig into me a little bit. I couldn't go on go-karts with her because I was too wide, and uh, I couldn't bend down all the way because my knees were hurting, and and all that stuff like that. And so I just spoke from my heart, and I said, "There's nothing more important than this because, well, I guess I just want to go on a swing with my daughter. I want to be able to sit on the swing with her and not embarrass her. I want to pick her up from school and not embarrass her. And I want to be able to run and play with her, and I want to sit down on the floor if I have to without sweating, and or if I have to tie my shoe, get out of breath and I'm sweating, and she sees that, and I want to set a good example if I could for her, and I want to and so I started to speak from my heart, and I don't even remember all the things I said, but all I do know is that everybody started to lean into me. I felt all the energy of the room go from like this, and everyone started to lean in like this, and you could see some people were getting welled up and getting emotional from it because they felt some of the same way, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, wow, you speak from your heart and it will connect with people, right? And I didn't care what everyone thought, right? Because I went up there, I cared what Lisa thought, and I cared how I made her look. And I was willing to go up there and make a jackass of myself if I totally clammed up, but I was not going to walk out and be a quitter in front of her and do that to her. So I credit her for having that type of effect on me because no one else did my whole life. People, they would call me up, hey, and John's going to come up and talk. I walk right out of the room. But anyway, yeah. So most people don't realize that. Yeah. So I had it. So when I do this, the reason I wanted to do this podcast is because I went through some journeys in my life, ups and downs, and I feel that there is no anybody who just had a straight line up, or they just keep out all their successes and all that stuff. If that's really true, then they really experience, and they didn't experience any challenges. There's got to be something else to that story. Number one. Number two, they have no real calluses built up. And I think salesmen and people in general who went through the same type of discouraging things or phobias or challenges, and you overcome them and come back. First of all, there's no fear like that first step you take, right? It's like a smoke filled staircase, but you put one foot after the other and you keep walking, not knowing if there's going to be another step, or you're going to fall 15 stories, or is there going to be another step there, but you have faith that it's going to be there. And when you do that, and you do that enough, and you walk through the smoke and you get through the fire and you come out the other end, man, there is nothing like it. The rewards and the shower of rewards and money follows, but that's not the true intent. The true intent is always to be better and to bring as much value as you can to the market. And if you believe that you have a great product, and if you believe that you have something in you that can help teach one other person, then you need to walk through the fire, get out the other side, and help that person. Because if you're only meant to help one, that one is going to do something great, and you're going to be responsible for starting the spark for that. And I truly believe that. That's why I don't care if I have one subscriber or I have a million. If I have one, that person's the middle of the center of this universe, right? And I will talk with as much passion to you as I will to a million people, because I feel like everybody is just as important. So if you have one person you're training, or you're training a classroom of people, you need to have the same type of passion going forward. And if you can do that, you'll always do well in sales. So what I want to do is kind of move into, so with sales, let's talk structure. And the real way every closer, really the backbone of every closer, is their scripts. So you can think they're improvising everything, and that's not true, right? Not true at all. There are scripts for literally everything. If you were ever in a brokerage house, there are scripts for everything, and they're pinned up on everybody's cubicle. For every objection that there's a rebuttal. Every product you have, there's a pitch, and the only thing that changes is you keep refining it and getting it better. But just like for some reason, most salespeople, you think that a script binds you. It frees you up. It liberates you. It frees up bandwidth in your brain, right? Because if you have a script that you can stick to, and that's the fundamentals of the sale, right? Of what you're going to pitch, and you know that pitch, and you have that script here, it frees up the bandwidth in your brain that you have to improvise continuously, because you're going to have to improvise somewhere, right? And adapt. But if you have that base of a script, and you know it because you've role played it and trained it, and if you're not training and role playing, none of it's going to matter, right? So you have to role play, whatever it is. Role play. It's uncomfortable and awkward, and once you do it enough, when the time a customer comes up, you will be warmed up and ready to bat. I trust me on that. And you want to learn that script, that like you can recite it in your sleep. You'll internalize it, right? And maybe the first couple of times you read it, you may sound like a little bit like a robot. Okay. But once you get it down where you can say it like it's just conversation, because you know it. So when you go to a movie, do the actors sound like they're reading from a script when they are doing a role? Because Joan and John went on a dinner date, they don't sound like that, right? But the first time they read a script, that's how they sound, right? It says John, and then my line would be, "Oh no, my son got kidnapped, and they want a $30 million ransom." Wow, that's a lot, right? So, but when you see the movie Ransom, right, and you see Mel Gibson talking, and the emotion in his eyes, and it goes right through the screen. That script makes you believe that first of all, his character is real when it's not. The emotions he's feeling, I would think they would have to be somewhat real, because his eyes pull you right in, right? So the really good actors do that. But that everything they're doing, it's all scripted, but it comes across as real, because there's people in the movie theater that start crying, right? And so when he's saying that, he's not going, "Oh no, my son was kidnapped." He's saying it in a way where he's like, "Oh, and he's just, you can see that it's taken so much out of him. It's he's just trying to stand up. He don't know how he's going to move forward, and so that script comes to life. That's what this is. You have a really good sales script, and you can memorize it like that, where you can put it across like you're not reading, it's actual conversation you're having, right? And you transition seamlessly from your introduction, right? And your ending. Hey, that sound fair enough? Great. Do you have 60 seconds? I have a great idea. We've been reviewing your account and we think this will be a home run for you. Do you have 30 seconds to share with me? Great, right? And so now you're moving forward, right? And now you're transitioning into the product, right? And then you're saying, so if A and B were to happen, how would you handle C? Boom, there's one thing. Now you know how they would handle this situation. And you're asking your questions and you're actively listening, right? Meaning you're not waiting to talk, you're actually listening, right? And so as you're listening, they're filling your holster up with bullets, right? For ammunition. And then that's how you work it back. So and we can go through how you can go through a script, but that's not for today. Today is saying, don't think a script is binding. It's freeing. It frees up that bandwidth in your head. So when you do have to adapt, you can. So learn the script and stop being so stubborn about scripts, guys. It's ridiculous. It's a good thing. And the better the script you have, you want to keep evolving it and evolving and evolving, and then role play in the morning. Role play. When you go play a baseball game or a football game, you think Tom Brady, as great as he was, before he goes out, what does he do? Right? He warms up. They stretch. They warm up. Right? They do all these things that before they start playing, so they're warm when they go to play. The same thing when you're going to go on the phone, or when you're going to go knock on a door, or incoming phone calls, or customers coming into your office. If you're not warming up, you're going to warm up on a customer? Seriously? You have that many customers that you can afford to throw people away on a warm-up? That's pretty wild. Let's see. Thanks for sharing the story in such a real way. It's been so encouraging. The perceived fire has been paralyzing me in so many areas. Yeah, that's that's it. That's what happens. You get paralyzed by the fear, but you have to realize if you look at it in a way where you have to get your mindset in a certain pattern. I will come back to that. I'll come back to that. I'm going to finish up the sales, but when we get to the mindset, Annette, we're going to talk about that specifically. What's this? So much I can't believe it's already. I know, babe. I'm sorry. I talk a lot. It's for all the years I was nervous to talk. All right. So we talked about active listening. And so you want to echo their words back to them. You want to mirror and match. You want to look at body language. And so what I'll tell you is this: when it comes into body language and you're in person, you're watching your customers as you're asking questions, their posture, their breathing, micro expressions, arms crossed, right? That means they're blocking, right? That's not good, right? If this happens, that's good. They're leaning in, right? So are you aware of what's happening? Or when you're just talking to talk, you're not watching their reaction, you're not asking questions that you should be asking questions for a very specific reason. And their body language is telling you everything if you're paying attention. Right? And so if their body language goes from this and they go like this, you may want to stop and ask a question. Hey, so let me ask you, do you understand, you have any questions on or concerns on what I just said? You have any? I just want to make sure if you have any questions, because I know we've been over a lot, and let them say what it is and bring it up. And if they don't, if they say no, keep going, what their body language said, right? So you go, well, I said this and this, and I saw you kind of leaned back like something was wrong. And I'd rather, if we can stop here, let's figure that out, because I want to have a productive conversation and give you my very best, right? So what's your concern? Right? And so you want to make sure, because if customers see that you actually care about where they're at and what they need, I'm telling you, it goes a long way. And so it's really important to notice those things when you're doing that. So active listening goes with that. And so if you're on the phone, can you see their body language? No, right? And when can they see me? So you're doing the same, right? When you're selling. So they can't see me, I can't see them. So if you're over the phone, what's going to substitute for body language? If I'm the salesperson And if I would normally, come in, right, and go like, we have this product. I think it would be amazing. Would you imagine what your family would think of you if you did this, and after you were able to liquidate, you were to take your wife on a vacation where she always wanted to go? Be the hero in your house, right? Okay, that's tonality, right? So if you were in person, you would see me do that, right? And I would lean in, and it gives it more power. But if I'm on the phone, because verbal is only 7% of communication, the other 93% is body language, facial tics. If you're making sounds, all those things equal. So verbally is only 7% of communication. So if you don't have the body language because you're over the phone, what substitute is really good inflection in voice, speed of speaking. So you slow up or do you slow down? Do you get louder or do you get lower to bring them in? If do you have a good pause? Are you comfortable pausing and not just keep rambling, right? So those are the things that are really important when it comes to whether you're in person, right? Your body language is just as important as your customers. Uh, and there's a lot that'll go into that, which we're going to go into when we get into a more advanced on things you want to mirror and match. And so, don't be so literal with it, because if your customer has Tourette's and they start freaking out and doing things like that, don't go, we have a great product like that because they did it, right? So you want to make sure you're doing it, but you're doing it in a subtle professional way. That's just all you're trying to do is create connection throughout, right? And when they talk about always be closing, ABC, that doesn't mean you're closing at the beginning. It means every part of your conversation, every question you ask, every tonality you choose to use, every inflection in your voice, speed up, slow up, whatever it is, it's all geared to get you to the next step closer to closing the sale, right? So how do you do that? And on the phone is going to be different than in person, and knocking on someone's door is different than getting an incoming phone call or someone coming into your office, right? It's there's subtle differences, but there are differences, and you need to know how to read the situation, because it'll always put you at the advantage of knowing where your customer is. And so it's really important to know those things. And so we're going to get into more as we go week to week. We're going to keep building on this, because if you can build this foundation up the right way, by time we're done, within, say, I don't know, probably another 4 or 5 shows where you should have a good grasp on it, and you should be building, if hopefully you're doing this in your daily practice, you will be able to faster and faster read and recognize what's going on, what this customer's hot button is, where are their pain points. And when we say push on a pain point, it doesn't mean we want to necessarily hurt them, but if they have a pain point, meaning the problem in their life, the reason they called you is to solve a problem. Now, are you conveying what you have in a way where they think you're going to be the person to solve their problem? And so that's what I do. I connect with people almost immediately. And when you start to hear people say, I know you for 2 minutes. I can't believe I'm telling you this. I can't believe I'm sharing this information with you. You're on the right track, because you're actually chemically bonding with that person, especially in person. I love doing in-person stuff, because a lot of people don't like it because the person's right. But I love it. You create connection immediately, and that's another show. But make sure when you're doing what you do, even if you're on the phone, your posture is the right way, or you're standing up talking. Before I get on a phone call, I go like that, and then the phone is ringing, and people look at me like I'm insane. But you want to know something? If you speak with a smile, they feel it, just like if you speak with desperation, they feel it. If you're a miserable fuck when you're on the phone, before they get on the phone, what do you think you're going to sound like? You think you're going to have energy in your voice and you're happy to speak to them? No. But if you're smiling and you actually make yourself start laughing, it puts your whole body in a different state. And that's the state you want to be in. And so when you move to mindset, it's very, very important to start doing things like that, because I'll tell you this: if you can't if you can't reset your mindset after a bad interaction, then what's going to happen is your next client is going to wear your failure from your last appointment, from your last phone call. And so one of the things at my last, not where I'm working now, my last company I worked at, we used to get incoming phone calls, right? When a commercial went off. And so I was coaching one of the new guys in there, and he was upset because he got over the last 3 days, he got 4 calls a day, and each of the calls was horrible. They called in, they just wanted information. They didn't want to give him any, they didn't want to really talk to him. They didn't, and they hung up, or he couldn't get nowhere, or they just said they wanted information, or they just, it was just, or it was the wrong number, stuff like that. And he was getting discouraged. So he said, DiMartino, he was like, he goes, dude, I had 12 phone calls in a row and they all sucked. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I don't know. This is horrible. How do you guys make it here? He's going like that. And I said, you lucky bastard. Holy cow. I cannot believe that happened to you. And he's looking at me going, what are you talking about? I said, what are you talking about? And he goes, I had shitty phone calls. I said, and you're discouraged about that? And I said, what do you think? Every phone call is great? I said, you got all your bad phone calls for the month out of the way. You got all the assholes that are going to call in to just yell and argue with us. You got them out of the way. You know what that means? Your next phone call could potentially change your whole month. One phone call, because you got all this out of the way. And you're not grateful for that? What'd you do before this? And he's like, oh no, I was in sales. And I was like, did they show you did they teach you what type of mindset did you have there? Right. And so it was eye-opening for him. And he went to the bathroom and he came back in, and he was smiling and laughing. And he said, you know what? Thank you. You're right. He was like, I got them all out of the way. My next phone call is going to be a kick-ass phone call. And you know what? When I pass it over to you to close, it's going to be set up for you to tee up and really knock it out of the park. He's still at the company. He does really well. But that could have blew him out, right? Because he was discouraged because he had bad phone calls. What happens to you when you have a bad interaction? Does your next customer wear it? Or what happens to you when you're in a good state of mind, right? You're going to have a good day. And then you're at a car dealership and a guy comes in with overalls. He has no front teeth, right? He's chewing on hay, ripped clothes, and he wants you to show him a car, right? Most of the salesmen will look to blow him off, treat him in a way where he leaves, and not make him feel like he's a real person, right? Because they think and they prejudged him on the way in. And what I'll tell you is, you treat everybody like they're the $1 million client until they prove otherwise. Because that actually did happen to me at a dealership. And because I was the new guy, I never worked at a dealership before, and my bank was out of business during the 08 collapse. I was just trying to do anything to get it to work. And the salesmen, they all kind of walked away, did this, and they were like, hey, can you take him? I got to go do this. I got to do this. And so they did it right in front of him. They didn't care that he was right there. And I walked over and I apologized to him. I said, hey, I'm John. I'll take care of you. Now I was new. I didn't know any better, but they were doing it thinking that they were giving the new guy the shitty customer. Turns out the guy's a rich farmer, right? And he ended up buying like 3 Lexuses, and he bought a couple of more down the road, but he wouldn't go to nobody else but me, because I treated him like a human being. I didn't prejudge him because he didn't have the right dress to walk into a Lexus, right? And I was able to help him out, and anything I asked him to buy, he bought. He didn't haggle on pricing. He just let it be whatever it was, because the person who I was was the one who treated him like a human being, and he appreciated that. And so that was my reward, was no haggling, and end up getting a really good commission from it. So do not prejudge, And do not get discouraged because your client don't look like they have money. They're calling from an area code that doesn't have any money. Because you'll be surprised that in some of these neighborhoods that they're blue collar guys that have very big 401ks that they can roll over into a gold backed IRA that I can do, right? I could have done, right? You just never know. You never know. And you don't know who they know, and you don't know who's sitting next to them when they bring people in. So you treat this person really good and they don't have anything, but their friend is with them who's rich or has a lot of money. And that guy remembers how you treated their friend and they didn't have any money, and they'll come right back to you because they seen what they saw how you treated that person, right? So you don't know who's around, you don't know who's listening, and treat people like a human being. How about that? Right? Whether they have money or not. If you're going to be with that person for a certain amount of time, make them feel good about themselves. Don't make them feel like a piece of shit, because that's a shitty thing to do. And if you do have that personality, believe me, it's bleeding over into everything else you do. You're being judgy, and it's only hurting you anyway. So if you're just selfish and you don't care about it, then do it for a selfish reason. Fake it and treat them the right way. So, all right. So I'm going to run through this quick because I told Lisa I'll keep this to an hour and 15 minutes. All right. So again, if you had 5 terrible calls, or wait, they just hung up on you, didn't give you a chance to talk. If you have to go and reset, that's fine. I'm not saying you're never going to be upset. Be upset, right? And that'll be great. So be upset, but get up and go walk, right? Go for a walk. Do some deep breathing exercises. What I'll do is, people think I'm nuts. I go in the bathroom and I put my hands over my head like the Superman pose, like. And it's proven that if you do that for 2 minutes, your testosterone goes up. It elevates your state of mind because you're doing the victory pose, right? That you're doing the victory pose. So I'll do that. And I hit my, I hit my chest. I hit my chest, like, and I'll like I'm playing football. I go, ooh, like that. I get it out because I get my adrenaline going again. I'll put a song on that psychs me up a little bit, puts me in a different frame of mind, right? Because I just got beaten down over the phone, right? So that's how I change my state of mind. And then when I go back on the phone, the next person's not wearing the discouraged me. He's getting the me that's excited, that's ready to go, that wants to sell again. And I'm going to hit my process as hard as I can to make sure I give that customer my best, because I know my product's the best. I know I'll give him the best client experience if I can get them in, and I will always do what's right by them. I can't say that about everybody, but I know I will. So I am going to try my best to have them come to me because I know they'll be treated the right way, right? You have to have the confidence in you and your product and your company to follow through. Otherwise, it's hard to have conviction about what you're doing, right? Okay, so I combined 2 there with the prejudgment, right, of somebody, and the when you go through some type of discouragement, right? You want to make sure you have a different mindset. And I'll tell you, I've learned, I look at it and I go, I'm so grateful that I actually got a job. I am so grateful I have a way that I could earn money. And if I really put my nose to the grindstone and I really work my ass off, I could make a decent check that can turn a month around, right? And if I don't, it's not on the dealership. It's not shitty customers. It's not a bad car. It's on me. And once you realize that it's your accountability, right? That doesn't mean you're a piece of garbage. It means you need to get better and adjust the way you're thinking. That's it. That being said, if there is nobody to call you out, most people will not look in the mirror or a camera and say, that was the shittiest pitch. I don't know what you were doing. You better get yourself together, because if that's how you're going to do it, resign. Otherwise, get someone and start to role play, get a better presentation, or instead of being so nonchalant about the people who are coming in, again, treat them in a way where they should be treated and give them your absolute best, right? And if you give your absolute best, I'm telling you, even if you get a no, you'll feel good about it. Because if you leave it on the field, all you can do is your best, right? But truly give your best. And at the end of every day, you should be going through every presentation you gave, every interaction you had, and you ask yourself, did you give 100% of your energy to the point of exhaustion to every single customer when you were client facing? Were you 100% of yourself, right? And if you can say yes, then if I was your manager and you didn't get one sale, you'd get a pat on the back and you'd get recognition. Because what I do know is if you do that every time over the year, you will be a top performer. And I don't care if you go after the number one spot. I just want you to be the best you can be every day. And I guarantee you, you will destroy any expectation a company has for you. And you will exceed any goal you have for yourself. If you give 100%, truly 100% of yourself every day, and you make marked improvement, a tenth of a point, right? A quarter of a point, 0.25% every day improvement by going through what you did, positively reinforce what you did well. So when you go in the next day and you get something you couldn't handle, you'll have more bandwidth in your brain to handle that objection you couldn't handle, right? And you get better and better and better. And one last thing just about objections is the craziest thing to me. People get objections and they get upset. Salesmen get upset when they get objections. And I always think, why? They're telling you what they're concerned about. They're giving you a roadmap on what you need to solve to get them as a client. You should be grateful they're willing to give you that. You ever have a customer that says, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, well, what's your concern? Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to do it. Okay, but yeah, and like what we spoke about though, like what's what's holding you back? What's holding you back? I don't know. I don't know. I just don't want to do it. I don't know. So you don't know? Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Right? It's like if you were ever at a picnic in the summer and you ever see those watermelon races where you hold the whole watermelon but they grease it up and you have like no shirt on, or if the girls carrying it, they have their bathing suit top on and they got to carry it and you got to run it back and forth and it slips out of everything because it's greased up. That's what that customer's like. It's like a greasy watermelon. That sucker is going through and you can't hold it. There's no handles. There's no roadmap on how to handle it. It just keeps falling out. You can't sell that person. They won't give you anything. They're not giving you an objection. They're just saying, no, I don't know. But if someone says, I got to ask my wife, boom, there's a handle on the greasy watermelon, right? So it's, take care, Laura. But if so when they're giving you that, they're literally putting handles on a greasy watermelon for you that you can hold. And then all you got to do is overcome the objection, right? Logic and reason, you overcome the objection. I could appreciate you feeling that way, right? A lot of my customers have felt that way in the past. What I do know is as they move forward with solution A, which looks like it would fit you really well, wouldn't you agree? Yes, great. So why don't we start in a small way and we could always build on it. Would that make you comfortable? If so, let's get started right now. How do you title your account? In your name or joint with your wife? Right? There's your close. Like that. Okay. But objections are great, man. Welcome those objections in because you got to get to the real objection. Otherwise, you're not selling anybody. And you want to do it with logic, logic and reason, and understand what they're saying. Hey, listen, I appreciate what you're saying. I get it. We're all busy. But if I was going to give you, if I was going to offer you 500,000 and your house is only worth 100,000, would you give me 2 minutes? Great, come on in. That's what we're doing here. We're paying far more than what these trades are actually worth, right? Or whatever business you're in, right? And so depending on your business, it would be a little bit different. But logic and reason, and listen to what they're saying, and you can repeat it back. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you love the product, but what's holding you back is you need to ask your wife. But over and beyond that, over and beyond asking your wife, is there anything else that would be holding you back? And if they say no, and that's the objection, then you know that's what you got to do is overcome that objection. Great. I know I always ask my wife's advice. I always ask my wife's opinion. I don't make big decisions without her. But let me ask you something. Knowing that, she wants to remodel the kitchen and she's probably been involved in all those decisions. She's probably exhausted. She just wants her kitchen there. But let me ask you, what if you made the decision to get that kitchen done in a way that blows her mind for less money than she thought you were going to spend? And in the end, she'll have the option that we would be able to change colors or cabinets at no charge. You think she would be upset with that if you took that off her plate and you went in and you did that for her? And most people will say, yeah, no, right? Now, some may say yes, but you can't close everybody. But you have to move people forward. And so if they just say they're going to ask their wife, if you have nowhere to go with it, then the sale's over. And the sale's never over until they hang up on you, right? They got to hang up or you have to have a heart attack and drop dead. Other than that, the sale's not over. And so you keep going. The same thing with the car. Yeah, you want to ask your wife, that's fine. But let me ask you, if you're in the same vehicle, but it's newer, so the safety features are better, it drives better, better technology, better safety for your family, and you name some of the benefits, and you're at the same monthly payment. So nothing changed financially, except you and your family will be safer and in a better situation as far as your car. You think she would be upset with that? Right? Most people say no, because they're like, yeah, no, it's costing the same. It's not costing any more. And she'll be in a nicer car with better technology and the kids will be safe in it. Why would she be upset? And then you just finish it off, right? And what we'll do after we finish the paperwork, we'll drive this beautiful car home, let her know the great deal you made. And you can see your kids look at you like you're the hero, right? And ultimately, if your wife is that upset that you put her into a newer car for the same money, we can always go and switch out for something else that she likes, or she wanted something different. But let's do this and be the hero for the family. Sign here. And how do you want the car titled? In your name or you and your wife? Right? Boom. Like that. So anyway, we got to get through this one last thing and then we're done. So make sure your physical state, if you want to close and be dominant like a lion, you can't be curled up like a kitten, right? So inside, you can't be hunched over and breathing shallow. That doesn't work, right? You got to be up and boom, you got to be out there. So if you want to sell like a lion, you can't be curled up like a kitten, man. You gotta change your physical state. And the only way to get your mental game really going is to get your physical state going. So music, whatever you do to get yourself pumped up. And we'll talk about different strategies for that too, because there are different strategies. But what we're going to do is all the closers, you've got some of the tools that we talked about today. You've got the market snapshot. So hopefully you understand that the snapshot. You got how to reset your mind set when you went through some different discouraging things, or you had a bad phone call, you didn't close for somebody, because closers, it's a big responsibility, because not only are they closing for their money, but they're closing for someone else's money. And when I was ever a closer, I worked even harder because I didn't want to affect someone else's family of that guy trusting me to put food on his table. It would kill me to let that guy down. So you go extra hard. So closers have a big responsibility. So you got some really good tools there to stay in a strong mindset that you need to stay in to be a closer and call yourself a closer. Otherwise, don't call yourself a closer. And you need to go and you need to build those habits. So do you have a friend in there? Do you have somebody that you can role play at home? And role play and train. If you're not training, you need to be selling somebody, looking for somebody to sell, or train. Build your skill. Those are the three things you need to concentrate on. That's it, 3. Right? So build a skill, practice, The word tracks. You want to practice the different word tracks that your company has, depending on the industry you're in. And that's something we can work on. We can work on together too. What are the best word tracks to build emotion, to build momentum in the sale, and then capitalize on that momentum, and don't take it away and cut your own legs out, because that happens a ton of times. Listen with intention. If you're in front of somebody, write it down. Ask them, I just want to make sure I got this. You said blah, 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 because that shows that you care enough to remember what they're saying, right? It's not just, they don't feel like they're like, want, 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 want. Okay, you want to buy the car, right? It's not like that. You care about what they want. You're writing it down, right? Important. Listen with intention, and mostly, again, ask for the business. So you guys DM me, send me a video chat, whatever. Did you, see if you can continue to go for the no? Did you get a yes? We like to hear success stories. And then if you can share this with somebody who is in the game, in the sales game, or has his own business, or she has her own business, and she's looking to, or he's looking to build and become the brand for their business, it is very important that you build a strong toolbox, because you have to realize you're going to set the example for your company. Whoever comes in is going to look to you, right, to how to sell. They're going to go up to your level, and that's what they're going to think that's the top level. So if you are not leveled up, you are going to get a bunch of mediocre people and have a bunch of stress, because it's going to be a bunch of bullshit from that. You need people who are going to strive for more. And if you set in place the structure of, we come in the morning, we warm up, role play. I want to hear role playing. I want to see who does it the best. And then we're going to do whoever does it the best gets up in front of the room. And if you can do it better than me, you get a gift card, a $5 gift card, whatever it may be, whatever you want to do for you. But role play is very important. They need to get in that habit. So again, so share it with who's in the game. And I'm telling you, as we continue, once you stack these episodes together, you will have a sales training for free that will allow you to, if you execute the way I'm saying, right? And if you have any questions, please, I'll clarify. If you can execute and listen to what I'm saying, when I tell you, you will beat the expectations, and you will do it so quickly that your manager's head will spin, right? And all that does for you is it moves you up, but that gives you a greater responsibility to train harder. You cannot relax. You can't take what I'm saying. Even if you half-ass it, you'll probably beat the best guy there. That being said, if you're not looking to be the best you can be, they're probably not the right channel for you. I need people who want to be the absolute best they can be, and I'll draw it out of you, and I'll stick with you. And I want to hear the stories. And again, I want to hear the stories of failure as well, because they're not failure, they're challenges. And I want to see what you did to grow from it. How fast did you recuperate from it? Did you let your next 1, 2, 3, or 4 customers wear that? Or did you get up, you go for a walk, get it out of you, and get back on the phone, or get back in front of a customer and get back to work with a good attitude and with gratitude that you have customers coming in, or that you can get to, a company that lets you use their phones and computers, and the respect to a business owner that's by him or herself starting a business that is trusting you to help them, and enough respect to do the right job for their customers. Those are the people. If those are the people we have coming in this environment, I assure you, whatever company you work for, whatever employees you have, they will shoot to the moon in performance. Because that's my specialty, is moving people to the next level. And so we are going to level up together. And I cannot wait to do my next episode next week, because it's going to be massively dynamic putting this all together. I'm going to share this with my son, Jake. I've been wanting to introduce you to him. This is the perfect end. Oh, yeah, great. That'll be great. I would love to meet him. And yeah, that'll be great. I appreciate it. Yeah, anything I could do to help and stuff. But anyone anyone who you want me to meet, Annette, that'll be great. I think you're good people. We love you. So that'll be awesome. I'll see you next time. Everybody, see you next time. Love you all.